Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. So today I thought we'd be looking at the Zeal Weapons, since we've got the new ones coming out of Lightning Overdrive. The first one is Dark Zeal Weapon Chimera Clad. It's the only one of the Dark ZEXAL Weapon monsters out there. They don't have any alternatives. This happened during a duel between Vector and Yuma when he was tricked into believing that Ray Shadows, who he thought was his friend, actually was Vector in his human form. Chimera-Clad is a dark attribute fiend type level 1 monster with 0 attack and 0 defense, and its effect is you can target one number C39 monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target. The equipped monster cannot be destroyed by battle at the end of the damage step when the equipped monster attacks an opponent's monster, but the opponent's monster was not destroyed by the battle. You can make the opponent's monster attack 0 even after this card leaves the field, or the monster becomes unaffected by card effects. And if you do, the equipped monster can make a second attack on the same monster in a row. So the whole point of this card is it does more battle damage. If your opponent has a monster that has a once per turn battle protection effect, you can always make sure to get over that using this effect. Alternatively, you're just maybe focusing on battle damage anyway if it's a monster that flat out cannot be destroyed by battle. The downside of this card is it's quite battle centric. If your opponent has anything that can negate this, get rid of this, considering it will be treated as an equipped card to use this effect. And that's a massive downside. In the anime, obviously, they make the card incredibly broken, and what Yuma does in his dark form is to just be able to use Chimera Clad's effect repeatedly within a turn. Every time something happens, it just keeps happening until the monster is destroyed. But that's just how the anime works, I suppose. Next, we have a card that wasn't actually released in the anime. We never actually saw this card. It's Zeal Weapon Fenrir's Sword. It's a light attribute beast type level 4 with 1800 attack and 1100 defense. Effect is when this card is normal summoned, you can target one Zeal Weapon monster you control. That is an equipped card, special summon that target in defense position. You can target one Utopian monster you control, equip this card from your hand to that target. When the equipped monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can target one ZEXAL Weapon monster in your graveyard and add that target to your hand. The whole purpose of this card is to be able to recover and generate Zeal Weapon advantages. Most of the Zeal Weapons provide an attack boost plus an additional effect to supplement your Utopia monster. And this, of course, allowing you to go into another ZEXAL Weapon when it's summoned means you can actually go into Utopia itself. Alternatively, you're equipping it means you can recover ZEXAL Weapons that have been and gone and have ended up in your graveyard, either through your opponent using spell or trap destruction effects when it's been equipped to a Utopia, or alternatively if they've been on the field and haven't been used and just normally destroyed in battle. Zeal Servant Banished Sage is a light attribute warrior type level 1 with 500 attack and 100 defense. Its effect is if you control a Utopia monster, you can draw one card. If a monster you control is banished during the battle phase, except during the damage step, you can banish this card from the field, then target one of those banished monsters, special summon that target, and if you do, banish one monster your opponent controls that has 3000 or less attack. You can only use one Zeal Server Vanished Sage effect per turn, and only once that turn. So the whole point of this card is, first, it provides you with a little bit of a card advantage. You just get to draw a card if you possess a Utopia monster. That is a decent effect in itself, even though it's just a level 1 monster. It doesn't actually provide attack points or anything extraordinary. But being able to recover a banished card is also quite decent, and supplement that effect by banishing one of your opponent's monsters. So essentially what they might be wanting to do is try and banish most of your monsters because you might not have ways of recovering it. Whereas in this case, if you have this card, you're able to punish your opponent, and they're not going to be expecting this effect to apply to them. ZEXAL Weapon Surah Strike is a fire attribute fairy type level 4 with 1000 attack and 1000 defense. Its effect is you can target one Utopia monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target. It gains 1000 attack. While this card is equipped to a monster, that monster can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. You can only control one ZEXAL Weapon, Surah Strike. I think this card was actually used within the anime itself, If I'm not mistaken, this was used against Dark Mist when he was on his final Chaos Rampage using some of Yuma's monsters and being able to summon himself into his Chaos form, number 96 Dark Storm. During this point, near the end of the duel, Surah Strike was used in equip to a Utopia to attack over, I think it was number 69, Heraldry Crest of Horrors, that's the Chaos form, number 92 and number 96 all at once. It's a decent effect, and like I said, some of the ZEXAL weapons actually have the ability to boost your Utopia's attack points. In this case, it's equivalent to what this card has in terms of attack anyway. Zeal Weapon Eagle Claw is a winged attribute winged beast level 5 with 2000 attack and 1200 defense. Its effect is if your opponent controls, well, if they have life points 2000 or more life points higher than yours, you can special summon this card from your hand. Target one Utopia monster you control, equip this monster on the field to that target, it gains 2000 attack. Once per turn, while this card is equipped to a monster, when a trap effect or a trap card that was activated on your opponent's side of the field resolves, negate the effects of that card. You can only control one Zeal Weapon Eagle Claw. So this card is really good for Utopia. I think this was used in the duel between Yuma and I think it was Vectrix, and this was the finals of the duel carnival. It was easily able to be special summoned because Vectrix had much higher life points. The other thing is, 2000 attack point boost is not bad. Not only that, but being able to shut down a trap card, and this can happen each and every turn you've got it. Having that level of protection is very good, and I definitely would recommend adding that to the deck when it comes to upgrading. It's not something you should cut out from one of the old aspects of the deck. Zeal Weapon Lion Arms is the first of the Zeal Weapon Exceeds monsters. As you'll see as well, in the new set they've got the equivalent Exceeds monster. It's also rank 5, but it's like an upgrade. Similar stat lineup, I think it's called Dragonic Halberd. Anyway, with this, it's a light attribute beast type Exceeds monster. It's a rank 5 with 3000 attack and 1200 defense. It requires 2 level 5 monsters in order to summon it, and its effect is this card cannot attack your opponent directly. Once per turn, you can detach one Exceeds material from this card, add one Zeal Weapon monster from your deck to your hand. You can target one Utopia monster you control, equip this monster on the field to that target, it gains 3000 attack. During your battle phase, if a monster attacked this turn while equipped with this card, you can send this equipped card to the graveyard. The monster that was equipped with this card can make a second attack on an opponent's monster during this battle phase. Okay, so we'll just break down this effect. Firstly, when it's summoned, its materials aren't relevant for, helping Utopia in any way. If it came out and it just had the ability to just equip to Utopia, that in itself is decent because that's a 3000 attack boost. That is more than Utopia's attack anyway with 2500. You're having at least a 5500 attack monster on your field with very little that you actually have to contribute. Most of the deck kind of supports itself and eliminates that whole resource heavy aspect of traditionally Exceed summoning. But to be able to actively just search for any Zeal weapon you have, depending on your situation, depends on what you want to get, but if you already explained a few of them and how they can interact and how they're all relevant. The other thing is, if you're confident that you can OTK that turn or you can defeat your opponent that turn, there is no risk of getting rid of this card. Being able to give your Utopia a second ability to attack might be decent, or even if you're considering there to be a threat in terms of one of their monsters, you can get rid of this, let your Utopia attack again, and that way you clear your opponent's board much faster. Zeal Weapon Lightning Blade is a light attribute beast type level 5 with 1200 attack and 2000 defense. I think this was the other card that was used in order to Exceed summon into Leo Arms, because this is obviously a level 5 as well. Its effect is you can target one Utopia monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target, it gains 1200 attack. While this card is equipped to a monster, face-up Zeal Weapon cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If a monster equipped with this card would be destroyed by a card effect, destroy this card instead. You can only control one face-up Zeal Weapon, Lightning Blade. Okay, so for this card, it's decent. The attack gain is okay, 1,200. It does make your Utopia a 3,700 attack threat, which isn't bad. It also protects your other Zeal weapons. That is the important thing. They would have to essentially target this card first before they could go after any of the others. That makes it, in a way, better than some of the others, because having that level of protection without having to run specific requirements, negations, and so on and so forth is just a better strategy. The other thing is, if you're about to lose your Utopia, just get rid of this card instead. You're going to lose something, so you might as well get rid of the equip rather than the monster that's been equipped regardless, because at some point you might actually be able to bring this card back through various other effects. The next card is Zeal Weapon Phoenix Bow. It's a fire attribute winged beast level 3 with 1,100 attack and 0 defense. You can target one face-up number C39 Utopia Ray you control. Equip this card from your hand to that target. It gains 1,100 attack. When the equipped monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. You can only control one face-up Zeal Weapon Phoenix Bow. This card is decent for what it can do. Firstly, your Utopia Ray is becoming a 3,600 attack monster, and essentially, as many cards as your opponent keeps putting up, the more monsters they put up, even to defend themselves. If you keep running them over, you're still doing a minimum of 1,000 points of damage through the burn effect. It's a very consistent effect, and combining with some of the other cards is very powerful. Alternatively, you do want to kind of protect this card. It is one of the easier ones to summon, being level 3, but your opponent could easily negate this effect or get rid of it when it's equipped. So you need to run certain levels of protection. Zeal Weapon Slipnir Mail is a light attribute beast type level 4 with 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense. And the effect is you can target one Utopian monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target. It gains 1,000 attack. When this card you control is sent to your graveyard because the equipped monster was destroyed by your opponent's card, either by battle or card effect, you can target one Utopian monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. You can only control one Zeal Weapon Slipnir Mail. I think this card was used in episode 111. This was another one of the Zeal weapons that was used against number 96 when he was in his chaos form and was destroying everything. This, I think, was used as a final effect to bring back Utopia, so that he could actually direct attack and beat number 96 Dark Mist. Zeal Weapon Tornado Bringer is a wind attribute dragon type level 5 with 1,300 attack and 1,800 defense. The effect is you can target one Utopia monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target. It gains 1,300 attack. When this card is equipped to a monster, your opponent cannot target that monster with card effects. If a monster equipped with this card would be destroyed by battle, destroy this card instead. You can only control one face-up Zeal Weapon Tornado Bringer. Okay, I think this card was used in conjunction against Faker. It was used in response to, I think it was number 92 Heart Earth Dragon. It does give your Utopia a 1,300 attack boost. That makes it a 3,800 attack monster. And it does provide it with protection from card effects. So it's incredibly decent, even though it being a level 5 is slightly more difficult to summon, but traditionally you won't have to summon it. That's the whole point of being able to equip from the hand, not just from your side of the field. Had it been purely your side of the field, I would have said it would have been much weaker than it is. Zeal Weapon Ultimate Shield is a Earth attribute Aqua type level 4 with 0 attack and 2,000 defense. And the effect is when this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one of your banished Xyz monsters, special summon that target in face-up defense position. You can target one Utopia monster you control, equip this monster on the field to that target, it gains 2,000 defense. You can only control one face-up Zeal Weapon Ultimate Shield. Okay, so out of the various different Zeal weapons, you'll have noticed one thing about most of them. they tend to boost the attack stat rather than the defense. This is the one exception to the rule. Obviously, it has 0 attack, so, if that had been its effect, I would have said that's useless. Providing 2,000 defense means your Utopia becomes double its defense. It's a 4,000 defense monster with this effect. Alternatively, when this card is initially summoned, it does provide you with the option of bringing back one of your banished Xyz monsters. The trouble with doing this is, unless you're very specific on what you're running, and that you banish one of your Xyz monsters yourself, you're not likely to be triggering this effect. Again, like anything, I always say this, if you're having to rely on your opponent to do things, it's never a good thing. It's never a good idea. You always need to rely on yourself to give yourself that competitive edge. And the final one of his cards is Zeal Weapon Unicorn Sphere. This is a light attribute beast type, level 4 with 1900 attack and 0 defense. You can target one number C39 Utopia Ray you control, equip this card from your hand to that target. It gains 1900 attack. If the equipped monster battles an opponent's monster, the opponent's monster's effect is negated during the battle phase only. You can only control one Zeal Weapon Unicorn Sphere. So this card, I think, is the strongest in terms of equip. That's outside of a pure level 5. I think it being a level 4 makes it a little bit more versatile if you want to summon it first. But it does have to be equipped from your hand to use its effect, and it does have to be Utopia Ray. It doesn't provide the flexibility of using Utopia. That's a bit of an issue, but being able to shut down your opponent's monster's effect when you're battling is decent. I would have preferred if it had just shut down one of your opponent's monster's effect once per turn as an effect, because relying on it on the battle phase, your opponent can do so many things before you ever reach your battle phase. That is a significant disadvantage to how this card works. But all in all, it's a very decent moderate card, and it would definitely need to see at least one of within even the new types of support that Yuma is getting.